Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Freddy vs. Jason, which could be considered both the 8th Nightmare on Elm Street film and the 11th Friday the 13th. The film was released in 2003 after spending over a decade in development hell, and a full decade after Freddy pulled Jason's mask into hell. I have to admit, it's a little weird going over this without having rewatched the Elm Street series recently, but I'm not rushing to watch those 7 films after getting through all these Friday films, so fuck it, we're doing it now. This film is really a mixed bag for me. The whole thing has an air of superficiality to it, compounded by the shallow characters and everyone's fake breasts. Plus, director Ronnie Yu is a big fan of that choppy, slow motion effect, and making everyone fly through the air when they're hit by something, two things that really annoy me. But on the other hand, it does deliver on the matchup of the century, giving us plenty of screen time with Freddy and Jason beating the shit out of each other. And you've got to understand just how big this movie was for the horror community. I mean, this coupling is something that horror fans have ached for since the 80s. The studios literally went through a dozen writers and over a dozen screenplays trying to figure out the best way to pit Jason and Freddy against each other. And to this movie's credit, the premise they settled on is actually a pretty good one. The kids in Springwood don't know about Freddy anymore, so he can't affect their dreams, leaving him powerless.
Being dead wasn't a problem, but being first up, now that's a bitch!
Freddy manipulates Jason to come back from hell in order to scare the kids into thinking Freddy's back so they'll start dreaming about him again and bring him back to power. Great, sign me up. Let's get to the kills. The movie begins with Freddy whining about how he was burned alive by the parents of all the little kids he murdered. There's a fun montage of kills from the Elm Street movies that really makes me want to watch those right now. And then Freddy says he searched through hell to find someone to kill for him, landing on Jason. Through Jason's mask, we transport to what appears to be Crystal Lake, where a chick named Heather strips down and goes solo skinny dipping, because when you're in these movies, that's what you do. Jason shows up, so she runs through the woods until he appears behind her and impales her against the tree with his trusty machete. I'm still gonna count this one as a kill, even though Heather's not actually real, as revealed when she pops her head up and morphs into a bunch of different people. Pamela Voorhees shows up and tells Jason to wake up and get back to killing. Too bad for Jason that she's actually Freddy in disguise, and too bad for us that it wasn't Betsy Palmer. They asked her to do it, but she was very much done with this shit by then. Jason's heart starts beating and he wakes up, walking off into the night to kill again. The movie starts properly with a title card and some dreadful fucking music. It's time to meet our protagonists, who happen to live at the old Elm Street house. Our final girl is Laura, and her buddies are Kia and Gib. They're all pretty annoying.
Do you guys think I should get a nose job?
It's really one of the worst parts about this movie. These characters just plain suck, and it's a drag having to watch them for 90 minutes. The worst of them all is Trey, a guy who's a major dick to his girlfriend.
Whoa, babe. Tell you about kissing me after you smoked, huh? Babe, make me ask you twice, okay?
Babe, you know I don't like to be touched after, okay?
Thankfully, he's the first to go. It happens as he drinks a post-coital beer. While his girlfriend Gib is in the shower, Jason shows up and stabs him in the back a whole bunch of times, like over and over and over, before folding him up in the bed like a human futon. Babe, you know I can only fall asleep when I'm shaped like a V, okay? Jason inexplicably leaves the other kids alone, who then alert the police, who try to cover up what they think is the return of Freddy Krueger.
It's gotta be Freddy Krueger. Hey, don't even say that son of a bitch's name out loud.
Laura overhears the name, and after talking to this goofy-looking officer named Stubbs, falls asleep at the police station right after remembering Freddy's name. This triggers a fun little creepy dream sequence with disappearing bloody footprints, some missing kid posters that look straight out of Harry Potter, and this very, very creepy little girl. It culminates in the classic Elm Street jump roping girls as they do a faithful rendition of their smash hit 1-2 Freddy's Coming for You. On to more victims, like Trey's friend Blake, who's also a total douche of a human being.
You know about feng shui?
And whose actor recently graduated from the Nicolas Cage Academy of Acting.
My best friend was just killed, Dad! So how about giving me some fucking space?
He falls asleep on his porch and Freddy shows up to kill him, but it turns out Krueger is still too impotent to do the job himself. So,
I'll let Jason have some fun.
Blake wakes up unharmed and finds his father decapitated by Jason. Good catch though, dude. That's some grade A pro ball player material. Sadly, Blake will never end up making it to the pros, because Jason appears behind him and uses his machete to slash Blake to death off screen. Sure, it's an off-screen death, but at least we get to see the hilarity of Blake using his father's head as a shield. Now we go to the psych ward where we meet Laura's ex Will and his buddy Mark. I actually like these guys, because Will is played by John Ritter's son, and Mark, well, that guy's just a lot of fun to watch. They escape the hospital, and then, Jesus Christ, no one dies for like 20 minutes? That is way too long to just be watching these crappy characters lead their crappy lives. No amount of Freddy one-liners can fix that.
Got your nose!
During this time, Mark tries to convince Will that Freddy is real and was responsible for his brother's apparent suicide. He also accidentally spreads the good word of Freddy Krueger to the entire high school. Idiot. Shit finally gets going again at this crazy cornfield rager. You know, the type you'd always go to in high school. A lot of fun high school antics here, like the nerd Linderman showing up and getting hazed by this Bobby Moynihan looking guy named Shaq. Don't feel too bad for Linderman though. Dude's even more pretentious than I was in high school.
You tear me down to make yourself feel better because you really hate yourself, which is kind of pathetic when you actually stop and think about it, assuming of course you can think, with all that makeup weighing down your head.
Okay, actually that does sound like something I would have said in high school verbatim. Damn it. Gib ends up passing out and during her dream wanders into a boiler room because I guess Freddy doesn't have the imagination to kill people in different settings. He stalks her around playing some of his greatest hits, but before he can kill her himself, she erupts from a real life wound, spitting blood in Freddy's face and disappearing from his dream world. Turns out Jason wants to party too, so he impaled her to the ground with a pipe. In the process, he also kills this ridiculous looking glow stick guy who was straight up about to rape Gib while she was passed out. It's another scene of sexual violence that I don't think was really necessary, but at least we get to watch Jason murder the would-be rapist with that big old rusty pipe. Fuck that guy. See you later. Jason emerges from the corn stalks like an oversized child of the corn and twists around this jock guy's head in a gross display of early 2000s CG. Seriously, there's a lot of that in this movie and it's a real bummer. Shaq lights Jason on fire with some Navy strength gin, but that doesn't slow Jason down at all. Instead, he walks through the cornfield ablaze in a very awesome overhead shot while Shaq runs away in that nasty low frame rate slow motion. Jason finally puts an end to the farce by throwing a flaming machete through Shaq's back and out his chest. Shaq spits up some blood onto the camera and dies. Also, how the hell did that machete stay on fire? Metal doesn't work that way. To make up for the 20-minute stretch without any kills, Jason goes on a killing spree in the middle of the rave. But all the kills are really fast machete swipes, so they're not all that satisfying. Especially this third one, look at this. Jason clearly misses with his swipe, but then the guy suddenly has a wound in the middle of his torso, spraying blood all over the place. Anyway, I count 6 kills here. Did I miss one? I don't really care. They're all nameless red shirts. Will drives Laura home while she argues with her dad in a weird subplot that doesn't have any reason being in the film. Something about her mom's death and whether or not her dad did it, like Will says he did? I don't know. I have no idea why this is in the movie. Laura runs off with Will to Mark's house, where Mark is having a nightmare about his brother's suicide. Great casting here, by the way. Those dudes legit look like brothers. Freddy lights Mark on fire just as Will and Laura show up at his window, so they get ringside tickets to Freddy killing Mark with a face slash. It's a shame too, I really like this character. But at least Freddy gave him this badass branding, which would make a sweet cover for his comeback album. The kids all get together with Stubbs to hatch a plan against Freddy and Jason. And this is where the movie gets pretty damn bad. Part of it is just spending more time with these shitty characters, including this dude Freeberg, who's a straight ripoff of Jay from the View Askew universe.
And screw that clown. I mean, what kind of a pussy comes after you in your dreams, anyway? Now that big-ass motherfucker back at the cornfield. Tell me who the fuck that was.
Snoochie boochies! The other awful part is the real clunky exposition.
Wait a minute. Freddy died by fire, Jason by water. How can we use that?
We should concentrate on Jason first.
But I thought we decided that Freddy was the one pulling the strings. Shouldn't we go after him first?
Laura nods off and Freddy attacks her, and when the gang wakes her up, they discover she can pull stuff from the dream world into the real world, like Freddy's ear. They finally settle on a plan to go get dream suppressant medication from the psych ward. They break in, and the only security guard there ends up not being a problem, because Jason's knocking at the door and ends up flattening the security guard off screen for our 16th kill of the movie. The CG blood looks terrible, but it was probably way cheaper, and that's also probably why it's all over this movie. You know what's also CG and terrible? This fucking caterpillar thing that shows up and tokes down with Freeberg. Look, I'm down like Alice when it comes to getting high with bugs, but Freeberg fucks up and falls asleep, having a terrible nightmare before getting possessed by Toki the caterpillar. Then he spills all the drugs down the sink like a total narc. Not cool, bro. Jason shows up and smashes this electrical panel thing with his machete, enabling him to grab onto Stubbs and electrocute him in turn. He ends the kill with a classic Jason maneuver, taking out the power of the building at the same time. Then the Freddy-possessed Freeberg tries to stop Jason with a bunch of tranquilizers. He gets him in, but then Jason cuts Freeberg in half with his machete. I mean, in the end, it did knock Jason out, so I guess the plan was a success from Freddy's point of view, just not from Freeberg's, because, you know, he's laying there cut in half. With Jason unconscious, he finds Freddy in Dreamland and they face off in a boiler room, which was probably a matchup in a WWE pay-per-view at some point. Even though this is sort of a warm-up bout, it's actually a fun fight. Freddy mostly has the upper hand, even playing Jason like a pinball machine at one point. But it ends in a very bizarre fashion, with Freddy figuring out that Jason is afraid of water, which makes total fucking sense considering all the fucking times Jason has handled water just fucking fine in this series. Damn, do these producers not give one fuck about continuity. Then Jason turns back into a weird little naked boy and Freddy jams his finger knife in his brain, causing us to go a level deeper like this is Inception or some shit. I don't know what's going on at this point, guys. I'm sorry. All I know is that the kids are driving Jason's body to Crystal Lake, which is in New Jersey, 8 hours away from Springwood, Ohio. Whatever though, just roll with it. They put Laura under so she can find Freddy, grab him, and bring him out to the real world. She visits a weird fucking dream world, guys, where Jason is still a kid getting teased by other campers, and Freddy fucks a dead chick. Like, really? What? That's just sick, dude. Freddy starts to drown Jason, causing Kia to reluctantly give him mouth to mouth, but when he wakes up, the whole thing goes to hell with the van crashing and his body flying out of it. This pisses off Freddy, who attacks Laura and then shows her a flashback or whatever of when he killed her mom. I don't know if I should include this on the count, but Kruger's only got one kill in this thing so far, so I'll just count it out of pity. Here, Fred, take my hand out. Movie's called Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy doesn't even do any killing. Should be Jason versus Freddy, really. Give the guy doing all the damn work top billing. After Freddy gets all sexual himself, the plan actually works, and Laura pulls him into the real world where he has a fight with Jason inside a flaming, burning building, which is what Freddy's afraid of, remember?
Freddy died by fire, Jason by water. How can we use that?
This is another fun little brawl, the first part of the gigantic finale. Highlights include Jason sweeping Freddy across a bunch of windows and eventually throwing him to high heavens with that stupid fucking flying effect that's all over this movie. During the fight, Linderman also got slammed against the wall and impaled with a metal bracket thing, so while Freddy and Jason duke it out, Kia helps Linderman sit against a tree. She says she'll be back for him later, but it's too late, Kia. Dude bleeds out and dies. Pretty lackluster way for any character to die in one of these movies, but he was a fucking nerd, so whatever. Kia then distracts Freddy away from Laura and Will, with both of them making very inappropriate remarks.
Dark.
What kind of faggot runs around in a Christmas sweater?
2003 was a different time. Before Freddy can score another kill for himself, however, Jason shows up and whacks Kia against a tree with his machete for our 21st kill of the film. Again with the ridiculous flying through the air effect. She looks like the sandbag in Smash Bros. Freddy and Jason go at it again, this time in the film's main event. It's got a nice build to it, starting with some standard slashing and bludgeoning and then moving on to more fun stuff. Freddy flies through the air and lands by some big air tank things that he then sends against Jason like a bunch of torpedoes. The one that lands sends Jason also flying through the air, and their fight continues at a construction site where Jason gets a bunch of poles impaled through his body and they both get hit by this dolly thing, again flying through the air and landing onto the Crystal Lake dock. There we get the biggest and most gruesome hits of the battle. Jason slashes Freddy a bunch, causing blood to spray everywhere. Freddy slices off a few of Jason's fingers, leaving him with a little nubby nub hand, and then Freddy just fucking wails on Jason with his own machete. Finally, most graphically, he jams his finger knife straight into Jason's mask. Not to be outdone, Jason manages to rip off Freddy's arm even as Freddy gets one last big machete stab in. It's obscenely bloody, brutal stuff, and it's a lot of fun to watch. As is Laura, running like the bustiest Olympic torch carrier you've ever seen, when she comes to light the whole thing on fire. The fire hits a propane tank, and you know what happens next. Jason and Freddy fly through the air. But at least that stunt is actually real and looks good because of it. In fact, the stunt guys were nominated for an award for that, so good on them. Laura and Will think it's all over, meaning this is obviously their first horror film, because out of the lake, ready to do just a bit more killing with that machete, comes Freddy! Haha, you think it's Jason, but it's Freddy. That's fun. He goes to kill them with a machete, but Jason comes from behind and impales Freddy through the back with his own finger knives. Very cool, Jason. Way to understand dramatic irony. And Jason sticks the landing. Laura picks up the machete, and after throwing Freddy's shitty one-liner back into his face,
Welcome to my world, bitch!
decapitates the man in the red and green sweater, giving us a nice old fountain of blood and our 22nd and final victim in this movie. Good work, Laura, you did it. Afterwards, she tosses Jason's machete into the lake as a sign of what? Respect? Closure? I don't know, it doesn't matter. She and Will limp away through the burning campground, survivors of the greatest matchup in horror history. Now you may be asking why I didn't include Jason on the kill count. You stupid bastards, because of course he's still alive. The final shot of the film has Jason emerging slowly from the lake with his trusty machete in one hand and Freddy's head in the other, the victor of this epic showdown. Wait, did Freddy just wink at us? Too bad, Freddy, I'm still counting you as dead, mostly because you put up such a poor showing in this thing. Don't believe me? Let's go with the numbers. Snoochie boochies! I counted 22 deaths in this movie. Jason secured 19 of them and Freddy only had 2, with Laura nabbing the ultimate kill of Freddy himself. In a series low, only 4 of the victims were women, meaning 18 were male, giving us the new most imbalanced gender breakdown of the series, edging out Manhattan's 75-25 split. With a runtime of 97 minutes, we got a kill on average every 4.4 minutes, although that figure is definitely inflated by the Raver Massacre. The golden chainsaw for coolest kill goes to Trey for that folding in half trick, which was maybe the only original kill of the movie. I'll give lamest kill to Trey's buddy Blake. He gets slashed off screen and we never even get to see a body. And that's it! Released in 2003, Freddy vs. Jason made more at the box office than any entry in either franchise. Even when adjusted for inflation, the only movie that beats it out is the original Friday the 13th. So, you know, that's pretty cool. Still, the characters and the effects are a major bummer, as is the fact that the studio recast Jason despite Kane Hodder really wanting to do it. That still makes me really sad. Next up is the reboot that came 6 years after this and remains the latest Friday film to date. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching The Kill Count for Freddy vs. Jason. I recently launched a Patreon, so if you feel like supporting me in this channel, you can go to the link in the description and check it out. I offer various rewards for your monthly support, including early releases and exclusive movie reviews. Also, thanks as always to Bloody Disgusting for continually promoting these videos, and I'll see you next week for our final Friday the 13th.